Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Online dating. I met this girl online. Online dating. I met this girl online. Clicked and fell into this date.
Hey, welcome back to the Larry Exazia Show. If you look carefully, those that wear glasses, magnifying glasses, binoculars, you'll find out this is me in the hot hours. I'm back. Hey, I miss you guys. Been out for air for, well, we ran a couple of repeats. I got a little tied up busy. Carolyn got a little tied up busy. She couldn't make it in. And you guys, I love the request that you guys gave us for the repeats. And thank you for hanging in there with us, supporting us. And to get started here, we got a wonderful show here for you today, and Carolyn is going to introduce a wonderful guest that she's been here with us before. But, you know, I kind of butcher up names and stuff, and you guys know that about you. Right now I'm being Uncle Yates. I'm getting ready to be Uncle Yates in a minute. Now, how do I turn into Uncle Yates? What's up? I got some phone calls, emails from Grenada, Mississippi. Oh, Grenada. Hey, I'll be home around July 20th, 22nd, hanging around Grenada, Greenwood, Greenville, and all of that. And some of you guys have been checking up on me on Facebook. If you see me, holler at your boy. Don't stand back like I'm not approachable now, because I get pissed to the highest pistivity if you do that to Mr. Yates. Anyway, I'm feeling good today because I got a little bit to talk about. Can't shut up. But anyway, your president is overseas, and he's gonna meet with his boss tomorrow, Putin, and I like for my president to meet his boss, and I kind of want them to get along, pretty good. But this is an amazing thing about this President Trump. This guy reads a speech for about 20, 30 minutes, and now all of a sudden, the Republicans and the conservatives are saying, he's presidential. Boy, have you lowered the bar on this one. I'm dyslexic from Mississippi, dropped out of school in the 6th grade. Okay, by the way, I'm black, and I can read a damn 20-minute speech. Does that make me presidential? Before I say no, let me think about that. Okay, maybe not. I'm just kidding, maybe not. Like, I tell you guys, I figured out for me a metaphor where Trump is. Your boy Larry can get out here, and if I pay the dues, I can put myself on a ballot for local judge. Have not been to school for law, have no understanding of the law nor the jargon of law. So now I win. Or let's say, Yates win. He's a judge now. Now I'm sitting on the bench, and I got my first cases coming before me, and my second cases, and my third cases coming before me. I don't know what this shit these lawyers are talking about that's sitting there before me. That's Trump. He is out of his league. And I want to tell you something. A lot of you guys, you're going to say, you heard this first on with Uncle Larry. I'm being Uncle Larry now. I think we've been thinking a little bit small about Putin having Trump in his back pocket. Sure he does. He have him in the back pocket, front pocket, by the balls, got him by everything he got. But I think because of Citizens United, people, let's go back. Remember, Citizens United was strictly down the Republican Party at the Supreme Court. It was a strictly party vote that the Republican pushed Citizens United. So that allowed corporations and people to put money into these super PACs. But it also allowed foreign money to come into the super PACs. Now, you guys heard this first on the Larry Exazia show. Now, China, Israel, all the Middle Eastern countries, the European countries, they all put money invested into some of these super PACs. But Putin focus in on the super PACs for the Republican Party. So what you have now is not just Putin got the president of the United States in his back pocket. Putin has infiltrated the Republican Party. You have to remember, these people don't think a one guy, one move. This man has infiltrated and got his hooks in the Republican Party. And you look at the Republican Party from the House Speaker has a super PAC. Mitch McConnell, they represent these super PACs. On and on and on. And where's the money, those hundreds of millions of dollars coming from? So now we are led to believe that Putin has focused his interest and his money on the super PACs of the Republican Party. Therefore, this is the problem you have to work with in America. And I know that sounds scary, but let me help some of you guys do a little bit of research here. Most of us don't realize that the United States had made a deal with Russia before during the Civil War. So you say, oh, Larry, I never heard of that. Go Google the Tsar. I think his name is going to be Alexander II. Well, when Lincoln got in trouble and was about to lose against the South, well, he reached out to the Tsar Alexander II, if I'm not mistaken, because because he didn't trust the French and he didn't trust the English. He didn't trust any of those guys. So who did he turn to? He turned to the Tsar of Russia and what is now called, what is the country that Israel and all of those fighting with down there? God, I can't think of the name of another country. No. Iran. Thanks for helping me out here. Iran. But Iran wasn't called Iran at that time. So they made a deal with what is now Iran, and which was the Tsar. And the Tsar actually sent ships over to, I think, to some of the coastline for the Republican Party under Lincoln. So this relationship, so do a little research on that. So just remember, pay very close attention. Look with a third eye, listen with a third ear. The Republican Party, as old Uncle Yates is trying to say, has been hijacked by Vladimir Putin. Our problem is much bigger than a silly-ass Donald Trump. We better get our ass out here and do something about this. These voting, these elections coming up, all these black folks, white folks, whatever you are, say, well, my vote don't count. If it didn't count, they wouldn't be gerrymandering and they wouldn't be trying to take your votes away if it didn't count. This is just a word from old Yates here. Thank you guys for joining me. So for the sake of the show, I just wanted to deliver that little message. Before I switch here, my prayers and of hopes and healing to the officer that was murdered in New York yesterday or day before yesterday, where this guy just walked up to her van, I think, and shot her. I mean, guys, we have problems with the police department. We all know that. But that dollar you pick up is more powerful than any trigger you'll ever pull. Monitor how you spend your damn money, and you don't have to go around here and shoot no cops. You don't have to do that. That's not the way to win this thing. So we got to come together. We got to do a little better than that. And I say black lives matter, black dollars matter. Women lives matter, women dollars matter. Learn how to spend your damn money, and you'll get what you want. Anyway, I want to thank you. Carolyn, thank you for letting me blow off that little steam today. We got Carolyn back in the house. Can we get a little bit of applause having Carolyn here? I'm so glad to be back here with you. Thank you for what you've done to the show, for the show, how you have held the show up and all the energy and work that you've done. And just glad to be back here with you.
Well, I'm glad to be here also. And it's so interesting. I spent the last 10 days on the East Coast in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. We had no internet, no telephone, no Trump. So I usually get as incited and riled as you do when he does something interesting. But I just have no energy around him right now because I have been without any news.
Well, that's what.
Literally, for 10 days, I had 2 days to come back, and once I started looking, I didn't want to look at it.
Well, that's why we needed you on the show today to calm me down
Yeah.
and get me off of this stuff. So you have this wonderful guest been here with us before. So tell us, would you introduce her and tell us what we're doing here today?
Yes, we have the honor of having Felecia Lenee Williams, who's known as
Fela.
They Love. And she's a brilliant and amazing young lady who has dedicated her time to helping young people through the arts, through music, through acting, and through this program that we've both been involved in, but she's part of the board of Compassionate California. So we want to welcome her back, and we're going to talk about some work that was done just a couple of days ago on July the 4th in Sacramento. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome,
Yes.
Faye Love.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Glad to be in the space. Yes, I was listening to what you were saying about the Mr. 45, and I'm all about compassion. But I think that when you were talking about the Republican Party with Lincoln, we have to remember that was a different Republican Party, so that may have been a different Russia. But we do have to know our history because it does repeat itself. And we have a man out there speaking and sabotaging deals. I'm also a hippie, but I like to be more in tune to what's going on the political agenda so that I know how to spread love and compassion to combat and be another force to redirect the energies that's going out there. And I like to start with the youth and the roots and then bring in the adult mentors who are insightful, like Reverend Caroline Wilkins, because we need that kind of mentorship to shape our future of this youth. So going back to Mr. 45 and these deals, possibly sabotaging.
I don't include Mr.
You know, well, I was always taught to have respect for all kind.
Well, I tell you something. You bring up an interesting point. So I won't drag too deep into that. For some reason, we think the Republican Party today is different from the Republican Party during Lincoln's time. Lincoln, and what we don't realize, and most of us just find it hard to realize, that they didn't free the slave because Lincoln loved black people. It was about money.
Right.
It was about money. It was about big deals. It was and well, here was the most important thing about that, and I think we have to kind of consider this when we're looking into our history about what this Republican Party or this Democratic Party was. Their job was not to make the country a union, one union, because they needed cotton on the East Coast or they needed beans in China to do those trade. They were able to push beans and cotton all over the United States before the Union. What they did was, people, I'm using this as an opportunity to show you something. It was uniting the dollar. Had nothing to do with uniting you with white folks and white folks with us. It was uniting the dollar because the South had its own currency, and the banks came in. Go do Google it. But anyway, but thank you for bringing it up. So how does this today? How do you address what's going on today with the youth and how to put umbrella this all?
Some of the examples or some of the work that we're doing is with the Post for Peace and Justice. That's Post, Posts, and Justice and we use that to create a conversation around subject matter such as Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
And it's through the arts. It seems that people are more able to express themselves.
There's a caller? There seems to be a caller. We want to check and see, is this the second guest that's calling in? We have a caller, and I think we're due with a second guest coming in, folks. So just be a little bit patient with us here. Hello, caller. You're on air.
Hi, I am the second guest.
You are the second guest. Okay.
Yes. Carrillo Corser.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm so looking forward to
Should
this.
I
And
mute the
feel free to
radio
jump in
for him?
anytime you feel like it. And so, so would you continue your point?
With the support of Carrillo Corser with the Post for Peace and Justice, we've developed some workshops and to talk about subject matters such as Black Lives Matter, mental health, and we had a discussion with the cops, actually, the LAPD here in Los Angeles, and they actually got a chance to sit down and talk to the youth. And with mentors like Reverend Caroline Wilkins, we talked about education, and I believe that Black Lives Matter, but we have to also address, but in addition, we have to address things like education, because how can Black Lives Matter if we're not addressing issues such as education, health, reform with homeless reform? So in those conversations, we put the conversation on a post, and you can it's a visual conversation, and it's also a balanced conversation.
Let me jump in here for a second and introduce who Kira is. She's an award-winning photographic artist, writer, video producer with over 26 years experience, including 8 years of teaching at California State University in Monterey Bay, one of my favorite areas. She has a Master in Fine Arts degree, a BS in journalism. And her photography has been shown in major museums, including the Smithsonian and the Museum of Photographic Art. She's also being shown in many state capitals, the U.S. Senate and Congress buildings. So we have a heavy hitter in a place of compassion, art, and bringing all of this knowledge to children. So we want to welcome her and just acknowledge what she's been doing.
Thank you so much. Get an applause here for this young lady.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I
That's
feel,
a loud applause. Though.
Yeah, I feel like I've made it. I got someone of your quality on the show, and thank you for putting this together, Carolyn. And so feel free to jump in on anything that you hear would say, and feel free to correct me if I step wrong. I'm trainable.
Kira, would you tell us more about the art posts?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to also say that the posts are posts online. That's why we call them peace posts for peace and justice instead of peace polls, so that the video and the photographs are also on the internet on our website and Facebook.
Oh, okay. And is there a website that we can give out, Carolyn?
Yes, it's postforpeaceandjustice.org. Carolyn has it.
It's plural, POSTSAND, justice for Post for Peace and Justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. You know, you guys have to work with me. You know, but my audience know that I'm not well, so they kind of get with me. So let me ask you a devil's advocate kind of question. When you talk about peace, what definition of peace are we seeking here? Are we seeking the religious definition of peace? Are we seeking the environmental? Or are we seeking a social consciousness of the definition of peace? Would anybody want to answer that?
I would say it's all inclusive.
All of the above. Yes.
All inclusive.
Mm-hmm. I would say it depends on which group you're talking to also.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it does depend on how their tactics. So there's different tactics to arriving to peace. Some of the conversations may be through a spiritual conversation. Some of it would be through a social justice conversation. How do we approach peace in a social environment? We may have to go hard, be some heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? So by any means, by any means necessary, we're gonna get some peace up in here. So yeah.
Look at Job as the engineer over there. Like, we're gonna get some peace up in here. Yes. We're gonna get some peace if I have to. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, we want to open your hearts up wide open in compassion. So they say a broken heart is been broken wide open, then compassion can come in. So honestly, my heart has been broken by the things I've seen out here, with the police brutality, and also with just my own friends and family being victim of just injustices as far as unfair labor practices. I mean, there's different ways of like approaching why we need to stand up for our rights today as women, as people of color, and people who have from the LGBTQ community. There's things that we need to just stand up and represent ourselves, and bringing peace doesn't mean being quiet and silent. It means actually taking action. So what we teach is compassion in action.
I love that.
And
Carol, you
Kira,
wanted to,
I was going to invite Kira to have this open space to talk about the art part of it. And Larry, you're an artist also, and understand the power of being able to add one's emotions and ideas and creativity through art. So Kira, why don't you take a few minutes and share that?
Thank you very much. What I have found in my 30 years of doing social justice art is that the art opens the heart, as Faye was saying. But when you combine with others that are working, activists, policymakers, teachers, and you include statistics and websites and social media and ways that people can connect, which often in our society now people feel alienated and alone. But when you connect everybody, that is what I have seen as when the most incredible things happen. In fact, in all my years, I've never seen a project that works as fast as the Post for Peace and Justice does in terms of giving people a voice and feeling heard and being able to interact. And when we were in Sacramento, there were people actually crying after talking to us and looking at the post and feeling heard.
Oh, beautiful.
let me ask you a question. What was the path that you took that got you here today?
For me personally,
Involved in this kind of work?
I worked for PBS for 10 years, so I come from a background of journalism. My undergraduate degree was in journalism, and so I know the power of story. And I know that if you combine that with facts, because then you affect the brain and the heart, that you can really reach people. And people are not. In fact, the biggest mistake I see artists make sometimes is that they have a voice through their art, but they don't connect with the people that are actually making some of the inroads into the communities and into the policymakers' hearts, and that's where a lot of missed opportunity is. I mean, my work when I was a photojournalist, working with a poet, so we combined art and journalism. Starting in 1984 on homelessness, we actually were able to affect legislation, affect new nursing positions, and we documented. And that's another thing that artists don't do enough of, because we're not taught art in the schools in a way that really is conducive to us making change and including that art in a bigger way. And I think that's where we could have a bigger impact.
Well, being an artist myself, and that I know the savior the savior part that is played in my life. And if I'm talking to the little girl in you, and you with all of this energy and all this hope for the future, is there a particular type of art or an artist that saw you and has sparked this whole movement in your spirit?
I would say that my mother died when I was 12, and I grew up in a small town in Columbus, Georgia. And after my mother died, we had a woman that was a housekeeper, and she is the one that I feel taught me love. And from her, I have, I think, had a very strong sense of what is right and to speak out about it. So I think that, and I was always artist. My father used to buy me art supplies, so I've always done all kinds of acting and singing and performance and painting.
That's a beautiful story. It's almost as if your mom left the angel of art to kind of look over you.
That's a very beautiful way to say that. And I actually did an artist residency in Columbus. There's a university there now where I grew up at Columbus State University, where I was for a month, and we made a post in honor of her. Her name was Bertha Cox.
Oh, wow.
Oh, beautiful.
That is beautiful.
And it's now on permanent installation along the Riverwalk, which is so a lot of people see it. And before that, it was on the Atlanta Beltline, where 25,000 people a week saw it.
Oh, wow. You wanted to
So
see
Yes, we also have a post. It's called "For Those Who Taught Us How to Love," and there's a post.
That's
It's in
right.
memory of those who taught us how to love, and so
Oh, I love that.
we dedicate that to the ones that's moved on, our angels, and we worked on that at the Youth Summit as well with the.
You know, being an artist, and I want to ask you. I'm sorry, your name again? I don't have.
Kira.
Huh?
Kira.
Kira?
Kira, I don't
Kira.
have your name in front of me, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. No problem.
Kira, being an artist, one of the things that I found, and please correct me if you see this wrong, I think too many artists, not all, but too many artists, when they're putting together a piece, they're thinking about how much they can sell it for. And I think in that, and there's nothing wrong with an artist trying to make a living. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing that at all. All praise due to them. But I think so many artists like myself, and I remember doing the same thing when my art was about what I could sell rather than whom I may be able to touch and change their life. Do you find that a part of what is missing at all?
I'm glad you brought that up, because what I find is a lot of artists think they have to do one thing and not have a voice in any other area, which is not true. And I think one always feeds the other. I have sold a lot of my art, and often the social content is part of it, and sometimes it's not. But I think, like when you brought up the spirit and the angel, I think that is always a part of our work. And if we are, I think the mark of a true artist is one that really understands the power of art to help people live a better life. And a lot of artists, when they get only into the money part of it, which is unfortunate sometimes for some, because unfortunately we have in our society a saying that, oh, we're starving artists, and I don't believe that artists need to be starving. And actually right now I think it's a really good time for artists to speak out, because I'm seeing more avenues of funding for artists that want to work with nonprofits, that want to work with communities to build resilience.
Carolyn, let me ask you a question. Now, you don't do pen and paper, pen and pencil, and brush and paint, oil paint kind of art, but you are very instrumental in putting together art from a marketing point of view, and your work is some of the most powerful work I've seen. And when you put marketing stuff together, you use the art as a message or yourself, don't you?
I do. I always try to connect whatever the person who's creating this, whoever the musician is, the artist, the author, trying to find what is within them that they're trying to reflect to the world. So it's kind of a process I do underneath it. And I find that, leaders really like what I create, because I sit with what they're trying to portray and try to create a graphic that supports that. I also want to share how we all got together, the three of us, and the two programs that I can.
Well, that'll be the four of us now. I'm just kidding. Hey, it's your boy Yates. He's trying here.
I know you're trying to jump on the bandwagon here, but there's a good thing going, and Faye was on the program back in October of last year when they did a program with youth, a youth summit that I attended, and there's some images that were created, and the process is one that is amazing. The morning was spent having presentations by people like myself, religious leaders, there were community leaders, there were police officers, other people, cadets who were involved, some leaders from a social standpoint, social justice standpoint, as well as the environment. talking about the approach of peace, the approach of justice, what's going on in the community. And then we gathered, so there were several hundred people, and the group was divided into what did we have, six or
It was more 8 to 12.
8 to 12. Okay, so we had 8 to 12 tables, and each table created a post. And we got to create our own theme, our own ideas, our own images. So I want to give the listeners and the viewers a sense of how organic this process was. So I was working with young people as young as like 8, and it went on up. And initially they were a little nervous about what could I do, what do I want to do, what could I say. And it wound up being such a wonderful process over several hours where people chose sayings, quotes, a vision they had for peace, what they wanted to see in the world, like more education for students or art classes or dance classes. And they were written out. We wrote them out in our own handwriting. I did something like I wanted a hand for justice, hands for peace. So on the poll that I created, you'll see there's an outline that I did of my own hand. And then afterwards, after we get all the information on the poll, outlining it like most artists do, then there are actually professional artists that come in, that Kira takes responsibility for all of this and puts the color in,
Oh, wow.
puts the three-dimensional art on it, and it becomes the poll is already there, and we're working on the poll. But I got to see the outcome of October's work just 3 weeks ago. And I can't tell you how excited I was and how much life was in it. So it was just amazing to see the process. And I think in the show, our engineer
Is this what Jarvis
is
pulled that
brilliant
up
enough
now?
in
Oh,
pulling
yeah.
up examples of how we
I
work
can get a
together.
glimpse of it.
And there I am with our posts that were completed, 2 posts that I was involved in. And Faye or Kira, you might want to comment on that process and how wonderful it was for us all to work from different places.
Well, I'll start, and then Kira
Okay.
can take on. I know there's the part about the youth summit was beautiful. Having the goal and the vision was to have a conversation and have a foundation, and the key with the post is that we have facts and emotion put into the post, and so having expert facilitators such as yourself on subject matters that mattered to you dearly, which was education.
We talked about
I clearly
education.
asked what would be what do you want to talk about? Education and religion, and so we talked about those things on her post, and like I said, we talk about growing up multiracial on another post, and there's so much life in the post when they're shown afterwards.
Tell our audience a little bit about. I'm talking to you now about the little girl in you, and that when you saw something that kind of sparked this spirit of working with peace and children and the whole bit. Can you tell us what got you to this?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I am the creator of the Artist Eclectic Playground. So I believe that we should always keep that.
Tell us a little bit about that.
The Artist Eclectic Playground is for individuals who wants to keep that childlike spirit alive. And also those who are afraid, that have been afraid to be the artist for some reason. You're in your household, you may not have been encouraged to do arts because it was not looked upon as a successful career or something. So the Artist Eclectic Playground is a space, and the space is wherever you are. It's a traveling space. And if you look at it, playground is spelled L.A. round. There's highlighted L.A. round. So it's held all around the city of Los Angeles. And I just returned from Seattle, and we had some events up there as well. So it's basically just keeping the artists alive in a very tribal, organic space. And you can look that up, the Artist Eclectic Playground.
Well, you know, because I'm life coaching and the whole bit. I'm actually now in a program where we're dealing with ADHD kids. In adults that is trying to get into this particular type of space and a hand out, reaching out to support these communities, how important is it for us to be a little lighthearted and tap into that child,
absolutely.
that little boy in the man and the little girl in the woman? How important is that?
It's the key element, but sometimes the most important thing is being able to surrender. So if you can walk into the space and surrender and just open up, you may not have all the tools and resources right there to start with, but things will unfold and develop. Reverend Caroline Wilkins would say right away, "Oh, I don't do this kind of thing." And as soon as she sat down, I just saw baby Caroline Wilkins. Come on now, little Caroline with the pigtails and everything.
Well, the word I use rather than surrender, which is a little scary for people, is make yourself available.
True.
And every step that you make yourself more and more available, you do surrender. So it's the same thing, but it's the veils that you go through to get there.
I don't know.
Yes.
Could I
Go ahead.
say
I'm
something
sorry.
right in here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, sure. I really encourage people when we make a post, and you'll notice on all of the posts, there are quotes from songs and poetry, because what we don't want to always do is tell people you shouldn't do this, you should stop that. You should, that's what turns people away and makes them not want to feel included. But when we bring in all the voices through all of the arts, poetry, performance, and song, and put that on the post, then they feel more inspired and they listen more.
Well,
So
do you
just-
find that when you're dealing with people just kind of getting, this is a curiosity question on my part, because I think so many bring right and wrong to the table. They have a preconceived notion of what is right to do with art or what is wrong, the wrong path to take. And how do you help people to get beyond that wall?
Well, that's really interesting, because I have such a diverse background in the arts. Everything from large format, Ansel Adams type photography to abstract painting in my master's program. So what I tell them is the best thing they can do is use what they love and what they know and put that into the whole composite of what we're putting together. So, for instance, if you stand up from a post, especially if you're one of the lead artists, and maybe you can tell, if you're an artist, you can tell if the composition is not holding together like a painting would. You can tell that if you add a little color here, then that brings the eye down, and then people will be able to access that. It's like if you were reading a giant book, you wouldn't normally start in the middle because you might miss the plot, or you might miss some of the the juicy parts of the story. So when artists, because I have had abstract artists work on the post, and they work on it because they care about the issues, but they don't know that their skills can add until they start working on it, and it's actually quite fun. And that's probably one of the reasons that it works.
Kira, what you just said is people don't know that they can participate or their skills. And I find that true no matter what level of piece you're trying to bring or conversation, that people feel confined to not even participate because they don't know that their word, their idea, their concept, their vision, their dream can make a difference.
They don't see the value.
They don't see the value,
and you were
so
about to say,
I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, you were about
I
to say
love that
something.
you brought it up.
I was going to say a prime example was what happened on the 4th of July at the Interdependence Day Festival. We brought a post for the community to start working on, and that can be intimidating because they saw the finished products and they're like, how is our work going to look like that?
Yes.
And Kira was able to facilitate with just some simple ideas. We had a flag template, we had a heart template, and a bear template, and they could trace around those templates and then put their own interpretation of what interdependence means. And then kids would just go off. Next thing you know, you see ladybugs with hearts that turn into hearts. It was just like, it was so fun. But the way we also wanted to have a discussion of what does interdependence mean to you. And so in the flags or in the heart, they would share peace, love, collaboration. And these kids, youth, and adults are having the same conversation. And it's very interesting to have it multi-generational, multiracial, and everybody having one conversation.
Yeah, I love that because I'm a strong believer in moving towards success and whatever one see his or her success is. Once a person understands that their rewards in life, okay, audience, I'm saying this to you. Your rewards in life is almost always in direct proportion to your contribution and your service. And so the more contribution you give, the more service you give, the more the reward will match the contribution that you have put out there. And for young people that is watching this show, this is about anything. Remember, your rewards in life is going to be in direct proportion to your contribution and your service. So I just wanted to throw that in as people put together these projects and stuff.
Yes. I just wanted to highlight very quickly that
Please.
the July 4th event that Faye Love and Kira were referring to was at Sacramento, the state capital, World Peace Rose Garden. And they wound up doing a meditation there as well as doing this work. And it was listed as a wonderful way to engage world citizens in activities that promote global peace. And there are World Peace Rose Gardens in all different places. There's one at Lake Shrine here in Pacific Palisades. That's part of it. There's one in Mexico City, Sacramento, Atlanta. They're all over the country and the world. So you'll be able to look that up also. We'll put some notes in the next email we send out. And I encourage you all to look at the beauty of what goes on. The World Peace Gardens, of course, include flowers and the beauty of nature. And these posts for peace are the beauty of our souls that I think get planted around the world.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And I love the lake shrine up there. But I want to say something to Kira and all of you, is that as an African American man, or just a man, period, I see the energy and the rise of the power of women. Something has shifted in the consciousness of the planet. It's not just here in America. There's something that has shifted in the consciousness of the planet, that the spirit and the power of women are really, really rising quite fast. And I just, as I sit back and watch it blossom like a flower, I hope that more men like myself would tell you that we see that. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that can, you don't need my encouragement, but I just would like to throw that in there, how proud I am to be sitting here with three powerful, beautiful, intelligent women that is making this, that is moving this planet forward. And I just want to thank you guys for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I know the programs that I participated in have always also included men who are willing to be in the room with powerful women.
Yeah. And I say this to you men out there.
And have a shared leadership.
Really, I say it to many of my men friends, and most men that I know don't come to me with this egotistical madness because they know I don't tolerate it. I don't spend my time with a bunch of men and doing the locker room talk like Donald Trump said all men do. No, all of us don't do locker room talk. Yeah. And so, and I encourage my son and to respect his mom, the mother of his children, and all people. But women you guys are in a very special space in time now, and I don't think I would live to see this again. And I thank the Creator of all things that I lived long enough to see it, and it's just a pleasure to see the energy working through. and I'm being pontificating here a little bit. So somebody shut me up and.
Well, thank you. And
I would say keep
Thank
going.
you.
keep
I like
going.
it.
Yes, uh-huh.
Come on,
Give
more.
on- Yes, right. In that space, and the work that you've been doing, Larry, in music and writing and poetry and the children's programs about your children's writings about eating and obesity and other things. Say that you have that heart space open all the time.
Yeah,
As well as through humor, although sometimes we need to push back that humor a little bit. But
You heard this.
It's all good.
No, I thank you, but these are opportunities,
Yes.
and when we look at what's happening globally, and we look at oppression, we look at the wars, and we look at the financial, spiritual crisis. It's just an opportunity, man. Because in order for to plant a seed in the ground, you got to break open the soil
Right.
in order for the shoot to come out of the seed has to break. Then it breaks open the ground again in order to reach the sun. So, the metaphor here is that something has to break in order for a new to grow, and I think that's what we are seeing. There's a breaking apart of this negative vibration and eggshell that we're in. We're a little bit impatient because we wanted the microwave, the cell phone to fix it.
Yes.
But it's just for information and to feed us.
Just to add to that, breaking, I say this was a breaking point. We had to plant the seeds. Our tears had to irrigate the soil because it was a lot of pain. And now that we're flourishing, we're shooting up like a bean sprout. So
Yes.
we're going to go all the way to the top. We're going to keep climbing, and we're all giants. We're going up there.
Yes.
So I just want to, I don't want to, I would be remiss if I didn't thank our team as well. We had the Compassionate Capital Region that brought us up there in Compassionate California. We have a wonderful team with Compassionate California and the Post for Peace and Justice to support these projects. So there's a lot of people, and we've always encouraging people, Compassionate Arts in Action. We're looking for artists, teachers, and organizations that want to team up with us. So if you're interested, please reach out to us on the postforpeaceandjustice.org.
Oh, thank you for doing that. Oh, by the way, I got to tell you, I like that hat you got on there. You wearing that hat?
Well, I like the style and profile.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. But yes, we need all to support this movement, this energy, and this spirit. So yes, let's all of us do as much as we can. Carolyn, you wanted to say something there?
I'd like Kira to say a word before I do.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank you all, and Felecia, she said pretty much the thank yous that we needed to say, except that I also wanted to say that there's a movement through Compassionate California where we have Compassionate Cities. Actually, it's the International Charter for Compassion, and Sacramento, the mayor and the legislature there has decided that they're going to be declaring themselves a compassionate city soon. So we are making inroads.
Fantastic. And I just wanted to add that I've been delighted to keep, I just feel so blessed to have and honored to have people of this caliber continue to bless my life and to invite me and include me in the wonderful work that they're doing in the world for peace and compassion. And there is a movement. There is a continuing effort of people that I see who say, this is the way we're going to live, and I want to support youth, elders, across generations, across races, across cultures, that we can live here together.
This hour's gone by so fast. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I'm speaking to Mississippi when I say that. Can you believe that? But anyway, Carla, would you give us just a quick words of wisdom to close the show out with? Everybody's gonna give just a couple words of wisdom. I know the time is short, but could you share just a little bit?
Well, I have worked with a lot of schools, and Martin Luther King's words are often brought up and put on the post. And my favorite is that hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.
Oh,
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that.
thank you so much for that. And
With the work that I do, I noticed that the most effective is to remember that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, meaning we should be doing more listening than talking so we can get the message out there and hear the needs.
I like that.
And
Carolyn, you want to give us
I'm going to complete by saying that we have that mouth, but that mouth is the source of breath. And it's through our breath that we live.
I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us on this show. Carolyn, thank you so much for putting this group
Thank
of
you.
powerful women
Thank you all.
together. And let me close by saying, as we look deep and deeper inside of our spirit, our soul, and the essence of who we are, finding out who we are as individuals, it would be the greatest exploration that you will ever do. Your exploration of space, your exploration of the depths of the ocean will never go as far and deep as your exploration of yourself, knowing who you are and what you bring to the table and value the gift that God gave you. Remember, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. This is Larry Yates. Peace. See you next week.
Online dating. I met this girl online. Online dating. I met this girl online. Clicked and fell into this date from hell. She looked nothing